What is going on, everybody? Welcome to Dylan Drives Tone. That's what you have decided you want me to call this. Those of you in the chat and at various etc. We are going to answer a question from the comment section of these videos. And so we've got one here. If you want a question answered, you can get in the comment section of this video, this one. Ask a question, and then I'll pull from it next week and answer it then. And these are kind of fun. I basically do this while I'm driving and running an errand. And so we are about to do that. Right now. All right. So here is this one. We're about to run an errand and answer a question. Here we go. New car, still trying to figure out buttons because there's way more on this one. Let's see. Hi, Dylan. Old beginner / intermediate here. I tend to buy a Les Paul for Christmas. Hey, that's a pretty good yearly custom to get into there. Problem is that the modern light let's see. And I want to avoid weight of the guitar. Problem is that the modern light versions do not look like, e.g. a Les Paul Studio Honeyburst, which is my favorite. What do you technically think about the modern lights? Are they Gibson? Are they Gibson-like, or perhaps not worth the money, which is roughly 1,300 euros here in Germany? Thanks for your opinion. Have a nice weekend. Okay. This is an interesting one because I think that they're 100% worth it. And I think that you should go buy one. And here's why. Because you already have some other Gibsons, which is pretty cool. Let's talk about that. Is it Gibson-like? Is it a real Gibson? So what is a real Gibson? It says Gibson on the peghead, and it was made in Nashville, Tennessee. That's a real Gibson. What is a Gibson copy? Anything that is not that doesn't say Gibson on the peghead. So any of your other guitars that look like a Gibson, sort of, that don't say Gibson on them, that, yeah. Why would you even say, are they Gibson-like? Is this thing really a Gibson? Why would you even say that? I think the reason is because people want to believe that it's not. They want to believe that this guitar is not as good as, it's not worth the money, blah, 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 blah. But here's the thing. Every brand, in my opinion, should have ways to introduce people to their brand. You know, they have the standard, whatever their standard is. So like the Les Paul standard, and we'll use Gibson for this example, obviously, we're talking about that. The Gibson Les Paul standard is the one. It's the real thing. It's the original idea. It's the thing with Les Paul's name on it, right? So it's already a signature guitar, kind of, right? And everything after that is either aspiring to be, a step into, a copy of, or a counterfeit of the Gibson Les Paul standard. All of these other models, so let's not even talk about Harley Benton, let's not even talk about Firefly, let's not even talk about any of those, which are Chinese copies of the real thing. We know what those are. We know what counterfeits are because they purport themselves to be Gibsons, but they're not, and they're just garbage. And I think that's an abomination. And if you're a person who gets on the internet and brags about your counterfeit Gibson, I just don't. We probably won't really be friends because I just don't understand that. Okay. So getting back to what the actual Gibson thing is. I need to turn this thing off. Okay, there we go. Gibson guitar made in Nashville, Tennessee. That's what it is. Now we have all these other models. So we have Studio, right? There's not as many as there used to be. But we have Studio and really this Light. What they're trying to do is they're trying to put something that is true to the brand into the range so that you can use it as an aspirational tool to enter the brand at a much lower price point. It has the general spirit of the brand, same shape, same overall materials, it's mahogany, it's the same scale length, etc., but less features. So it has less accoutrement, right? Like no binding, it's a piece of mahogany instead of mahogany and maple. And so basically they're able to make this guitar much more economically than a regular one. It's not an inexpensive guitar. It is not a cheap guitar. It is still a Gibson. It is still made in the United States. It is still a guitar from a premium brand, but it's an entry point into a premium brand. Now people want to say, well, it should be a working man's guitar. Okay, it's not. Gibson has never been we should talk about that working man's guitar too. Gibson has never been a commodity brand. It has never been a brand that is like everyone should have one. Gibson has always been a premium brand. Fender has always been a premium brand. These guitars have been premium brands. They're at the top of the game, what everybody else copies, what everybody else aspires to. When they come out with a guitar that is more simply constructed and simply appointed, the idea is to encourage people to enter into that ecosystem, right? And that's what the Light is. It is an entry point into that brand. It is not entry level, okay? It is not a beginner guitar. It is not a student instrument like the Les Paul Jr. was back in the 60s and 50s. It is an entry point into that brand. Now that does not mean that because it is an entry point into that brand that it is going to be cheap, okay? Everybody in the guitar industry has this thing in their head that every entry point guitar needs to be $200, needs to be $400, needs to be Chinese, needs to be super cheap. But that's not the case, I've been car shopping this week. Obviously, I just got this thing. The entry point Audi, okay, is still $45,000, which is not an entry level car. It is an entry point into the brand. Well, how does a brand manage the entry level? They have Volkswagen, right? So my daughter has a Volkswagen Taos. That's an entry level car. It's like $22,000 or something. It's very, very, it's still really nice. It is an entry level car into, a good car of what they cost these days, right? So that's what she's got. An Audi Q3, which sort of looks the same, but is not, is $45,000. You park it next to my daughter's car and you could say, well, they're the same, why is this one so much more? Well, there's a lot more to it, and there's a lot, it gets nuanced, and you could look into the various features and etc., and there's more buttons, and there's more this, and there's more that, and etc. And as much as people don't want to admit it, there is brand recognition, there is provenance to the history of the brand, etc., that is important. So Gibson does the exact same thing. Their entry level is Epiphone. Their entry point guitar into the Gibson Les Paul line is the Modern Light. It is very Gibson. It feels exactly like a Les Paul, but thin. For those of you that don't have one, who have been thinking about buying one and are unsure, just buy it. It's really neat. But here's the thing you should do. You should expect the guitar to stand on its own do not compare it to what other Les Pauls you have. If you spend, let's see, I've got a Slash Les Paul. I think those things are $3,200. You cannot expect a $1,300 or $1,500 guitar to be the same, just as good as. Now, playability and functionality and functioning as a musical instrument, they should both do the same thing, right? But all the appointments that you add on to a guitar, starting with the very basic modern light or whatever it's called, on up to some super custom deal, all those things don't just jump on the guitar by themselves. They're not free, and that is what the cost delta between those is. Now, people who say the modern light should be cheaper because it's very basic, I disagree. It's still the entry point into that brand. And an American-made instrument, no matter how simple, in 2025 is going to run you $1,500. It just is. It's just life. And what I find interesting about this is younger people who are out there moving and shaking and doing stuff don't complain about how much a guitar costs because they know everything is expensive. The only people that complain about how much a modern light costs is people who aren't going to buy them anyway because they have a Harley Benton that's just as good as, but they're not Gibson customers. Those folks are not Gibson customers. They are Harley Benton customers or Firefly or whatever other brand, and so they don't really count. Gibson doesn't look at them and say, I'm trying to cater to them. They don't do that because they're not the customers. The other people who complain about this are people my age and older who come from a time when you could get a guitar for $500, brand new, made in the United States. $800, brand new, made in the United States. Guess what? We're not in Kansas anymore. We're just not. So a entry level or an entry point guitar into a premium brand is $1,500, no matter which way you slice it. When you go to a Fender Telecaster, I think you can get one of those for what, 13 or 14, something like that. Same deal. Should that guitar be $800? Nope. Can you get a guitar that is similarly appointed for less? Yes. But is it made in the United States? If that's important to you, it might not be. It is to me because I live here and my friends work at Fender. I have people I care about that support those companies that I want them to. That's a Hennessy Corvette. That thing's rad. So I feel that's important. I personally feel that's important. Do I feel it's the be-all, end-all? Absolutely not. I mean, I drive a German car, so, you know. But for guitar stuff, I'm not going to buy a Chinese one if I can help it. That's how I feel. That's different than you. It might be. It's totally fine. But just because you think a guitar should be cheaper doesn't mean that it actually should be cheaper. It's just sort of a thing. So that guitar for $1,500 is really cool. It is very Gibson. Will it feel different? Absolutely. It's super fun to play though. Really light. If you have a bunch of Les Pauls, get it because it will feel so punk rock and so, I don't know, it's really cool. It's really cool. People say, well, why don't you just buy an SG? Well, an SG is more expensive. Well, I could get a 2012, but we're talking 2025 here. Okay? I'm not talking about used guitars. I don't buy used guitars. Sounds like this guy doesn't buy used guitars either. Sounds like every Christmas he goes and gets a new one. I don't buy used cars, I don't buy used knives, and I don't buy used guitars. I just don't. It's just not, I just don't do it. So, hello. So yeah, there you go. If you want a new guitar made in the United States for a reasonable amount of money in 2025, I think you should go buy one. They're really cool, and the colors are really neat. And no, I think you really enjoy it. Anyway, there you go. A little bit more of an opinion piece today. Obviously, these things can kind of be relative to how you feel about it. There's going to be a bunch of people in the comments when they see the thumbnail are not going to at all be happy about the subject of this video. But that's neither here nor there. It's kind of the truth, and that's what we spit around here, man. It's been fun. Dylan Drives Tow every Friday. Thanks for hanging out. I hope you guys have a great day. Do me a favor, like and subscribe. If you have one of these guitars, get in the comments and tell us why you love it. That'd be great. We'll see you in the next one.